Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with K80Y TV, and we're here at the greatest bank in the world, Umpqua Bank, for our first time, and we have the lovely privilege of having Linda Lindermann, who is actually running for City Council of Oxnard with us today. And so we're going to get a chance to meet the candidate. So Linda, thank you so much for taking time on your busy day to come and share the story of Linda with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much. So, right to it, I guess the first question, where did this story of Linda actually begin, if I may ask?
The story of Linda, well, I'm a native of California.
Oh, okay.
And I've always lived in Southern California. Was born in Los Angeles. Grew up in West Covina and Brentwood. And
Me too, West Covina, but we'll talk about that later.
oh, okay. And I love California. I love Southern California. And about 15 years ago, my kids have gotten married and moved on, and so my sister lives up here in Ventura,
Mm-hmm.
and so she'd been after me for a long time to move up here. And so then when my son went into the Navy and my daughter got married, I thought, okay, I'll move up. So I moved up here 15 years ago and bought a house here in Oxnard. And I was working for corporate America at the time, driving back and forth to Simi Valley, and it was a great job, but as you get a little bit older, sometimes corporate America, they had a buyout of the company, so
Mm-hmm.
that kind of ended that particular job. And then I just decided I needed to figure out how to make money on my own without a corporate job. And so then I became a business person, and I have different businesses. One of the businesses is that I'm a travel agent, and that's my passion is traveling. So it
I love it.
kind of goes together. And last month I had 2 trips that I took.
Oh, we're going to have to find out about that.
and I'm leaving on the day after the election. I'm taking a group of people 30 people to Branson. So that's kind of going to be a fun deal.
Well, life sounds fun for you. And you're making this interview way too easy. As soon as you said West Covina, Bob knows that somehow when you interview people, there's always some kind of connection. But West Covina, you must have went to Edgewood, South Hills, West Covina High School.
Yes, I went 2 years to West Covina High School, and then they separated our class. And then I was in the district where I had to go to Edgewood High School. And at first I really didn't like that, but it really wound up to be the best, because the West Covina High School was so large, where when I went to Edgewood, I was treasurer of the senior class, and I was on the drill team and other things. And I don't think if I had been at West Covina, because there were so many kids there, I don't think that would have happened.
Well, I say go Trojans, if I can say that, right? Now there are no Trojans, now there's Bulldogs, so I guess that's the history of it. But what are some of your memories growing up? You had, did you have a traditional family, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, who you had to share the spotlight with in that area?
Yes, I have a sister and a brother. My sister's older.
Which you mentioned here. And who's in this area still?
Lives in this area.
Okay.
And then my brother lives in Huntington Beach, so, and I grew up with a traditional family.
Okay.
It was, my memories of what California was and what West Covina was, it was orange groves, and it was the mustard fields. As kids, we used to run through the mustard fields, and the mustard fields used to be higher than what we were. And there was no freeway at the time. It was just Garvey Road is what it was. So it took a long time. If you went to Los Angeles, it wasn't just a short 35-minute type of thing. It took a while to get there through all of the stop and go roads.
So we can do like a history show, because that's when the Highway 10 would take you from West Covina all the way to Los Angeles and things like that.
Right.
And then again, history of it, I didn't realize, but John Wooden, the famous basketball coach, his brother was actually the principal of West Covina High School, and this was right just before I got there.
Oh, I didn't
So
know that.
in history is just all that type of stuff. But
Yeah.
it sounds like you had some great parents, because obviously you turned out so well.
Oh, thank
What was your father like? Did he teach you certain values? Did mom give you certain things that you're actually doing now that you recall?
Well, yeah, my dad worked nights. He worked for the newspaper, the Los Angeles Times. So he did those surface roads every single day back and forth to work. But it was a traditional family. You know, we had a good time. My mom and dad used to keep us very involved in different activities and while we were growing up. But we also, before we moved to West Covina, we also lived 5 years up in
There's so many cities up there, it's hard to even remember.
Wrightwood.
Wrightwood.
We were in Wrightwood, and in fact, that's where I had my first birthday, was in Wrightwood. We lived up there for 5 years, and then when we were old enough for going to school, then my dad built the house in West
Wow,
Covina.
so you had construction skills there.
Yeah, yeah. So he did that, and yeah, we had a good time growing up in different activities, and I think where I get my sense of travel, that every summer we would take 2 or 3 weeks and we would go camping or go someplace, you know, as a family.
Where was your favorite place to camp? Was it in California, or did you go outside the state?
We would go up to the Twin Lakes.
Yes.
And I learned how to fish when I was maybe 2 or 3 years old.
Can you still do that?
When I got married, I taught my husband how to fish and how to pitch a tent. He didn't even know how to do that. So,
So you taught a lot.
at his yeah. So I like the outdoors, and I like the freshness, and I like the open spaces. And,
Wow.
yeah. And that's kind of what I grew up with, and I was in Orange County for 30 years, and I watched Orange County go from, you know, fields and orange groves and that type of thing, and to nothing but high-rise buildings. You know, and
It's changed a lot, hasn't it?
yeah, it really did. And I used to work like 5 minutes away from where I lived, and sometimes it would take me a half an hour to go that short distance.
Yeah, a little more traffic, don't you think?
Yes, a lot more traffic, and so that was a very good incentive for moving up here too, you know, so.
The 10 freeway's gotten a little more crowded over the years too, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, you know.
So you,
405.
you're a graduate, you have your green and gold, Edgewood, right? You throw
Right.
your hat, and you also, so you make a decision to do something next. What's your next step after becoming, graduating from Edgewood High School as a Trojan?
Then I went on to college.
Okay.
And I met my husband, not at college, but when I met him after about 1.5 years into college, we decided to get married. So I dropped out of college, which was probably not the wisest thing to do, looking back in perspective. And so then we got married, and had 2 children. You know, so
A son and
a son and a daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went back to school after my husband died, and
Okay.
so I'm a widow, and I've been a widow for like 35 years. I always thought I would remarry, but that just really never happened.
just too busy, huh?
And, well, at the beginning, I just really didn't want anybody interfering with my children. You know, I just saw bad things when, you know, there was somebody who didn't love the children as much as the other spouse.
Understood.
And I just thought, well, you know, I can put that on hold for a while. But, you know, it never worked out, but that's okay.
That is okay. And your son is the oldest,
My son's the
and
oldest.
he went into the Navy.
And he went to the Navy. He was in the Navy for 12 years.
Okay, and he probably, what do you call it? Did he leave at a certain level as an officer, or how far did you get into the Navy?
Petty officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your daughter, I'm sure, is an empowered woman like you. Tell us a little about what she's done. I'm sure you guys are really close.
Well, that's a sad story too.
Okay.
My daughter had an accident and she has since
so
passed away.
Okay.
So I've had
Okay.
kind of a tough life.
Well, you are here for a purpose, and I'm glad to get to know you now. But you moving here, is it okay to know what your background was corporate? Because when I saw you on stage at the Oxnard Performing Center, you look like a corporate person. And so what was your background? Was it accounting, marketing, operations? What were some of the things, your background?
Yeah, inside sales for a manufacturing company. So I knew all of the inside parts of power supplies and things. And then I also worked for a printer company and selling the inside parts. And then I've done customer service type work. So I've always interacted with people, and I like interacting with people.
Well, when we were there at the forum, both Bob and I were very impressed when you presented yourself, and we could tell that you have a lot of passion. And one of the reasons I really ran up there and I said, Bob, I want her on the show, and but you have a lot of passion. What are some of the things you're passionate about? I know you said the travel, but what are some of the things that actually got you engaged in wanting to run for an office in Oxnard? Would you share that with myself and the audience?
Sure. After the past 4 years, I read the newspaper and I saw all the things that was happening with the city of Oxnard, which made me very angry to see that the FBI came in and took records and all of the different problems that they were having, and I didn't really like that. And then after all of that happened, I thought, well, by now they ought to be on the right track. And as I have investigated, I found that they really aren't, and I just feel like they've been mishandling the funds, and I don't think sometimes I know that they're really trying hard, but I don't think they have enough focus. And so I thought, I'm going to run, and I want to make a difference. I have the time. I'm semi-retired at this particular point, and so I want to make a difference, and I'm willing to work hard to make that happen. And I want to improve the image of Oxnard. I think that there's a stigma here in the county, and and that should not be, because Oxnard has a lot to offer.
We would agree with you here as a staff. So in the event you are elected, if you had to say there were 3 subjects that possibly you would like to take on, I know there's more than 3, but if you had to narrow it down to 3, what would be the 3 subjects that you think you'd like to take on as soon as you step into a job as a city council?
The budget, for one thing.
The budget? Okay.
Yeah. I go down to every Tuesday night to the city council meetings, and they don't have the full picture of the budget. And even when I was there last night, they were asking for, well, tell us, can we have a copy of the entire budget? And the answer is, well, maybe in December. And I think that shouldn't be. Any city should know right off the bat how much money they have and where it is, and it kind of leaves me suspicious as to, are there more than one set of books there? Why can't these people come up with an answer? So I think that there has been spending errors. I think they have spent money on the wrong things, and I think that it really needs to be corrected. And I would certainly ask the tough questions and do everything I possibly could to make sure that they just don't spend money on something that, through my life here, I've had to really watch my pennies and watch my money, and I would certainly watch the city's money too, and watch it very, very carefully.
So you're a practitioner of it in your own life before you step into a leadership role?
Yes, oh yeah. I mean, I've had to, being a widow and raising 2 children and going back to school and all of that, I've had to really be very careful with my money and spend it wisely, and I think that that's what I would try to bring to the city council. I know it's only 1/5 of a vote, you know, but my vote would definitely be for spending, correcting the budget, finding a 5-year plan, sticking to it, finding out what works for the city, and you know, and making those cuts. And also crime. I know that our crime probably isn't as high as some of the other cities around, but any crime is too much. And I would also like to bring the city together. There are people. The city seems to be divided, and they're not all marching together. You know, I mean, that's one thing I learned from my son in the Navy. If you're going to be successful, you can't have everybody with their own opinions. They all have to come together, right or wrong, and march together. So our different communities within the city need to come together.
Right.
And so that's a hard job to do.
Yes.
But I think that with encouragement, I mean, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants a better city. Everybody wants nice families and a quality of life and that type of thing.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what your nationality is. That's kind of what we want. And I think that having maybe conversations or interaction and bringing people together, I think is probably a good idea. And being a travel agent, I would like to bring tourism here to Oxnard. Yeah, we have a deep water port here, and ships can come in here. I know I've taken one out of here before.
Actually, yourself in the boat. No, I just had that
You know.
picture of you actually being on the driving range, or excuse me, the driving force of that. But
Yeah. I've been on the driving range.
well, that's
too.
well, now driving range. I'm getting all mixed up here. So, no, those are some really good things. And somehow I asked you if you were elected in office. I think you already have the fuel to do that. So, you know, I just feel like, just in closing, I want to applaud you right now, not as a final applause, but you live an incredible life, and I want to tell you that in front of your face, in front of our audience. And I just say, just keep on going. You're inspiring to me, and I hope this is inspiring to a lot of other people, especially people in this staff room. So, gosh, Linda, thank you so much for being a part of this, and Godspeed to what you have going on, and it's going to be exciting.
Thank you.
So, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador. Until next time.